The walls are still standing. The woman who built them isn't in the history book. In the 16th century, in what is now northern Nigeria, a woman commanded an army of 20,000 men. She conquered farther than any ruler before her. She built fortifications so massive that fragments of them still stand 500 years later. And most of the world has never heard her name. She was Amina of Zazzau. If stories like this, the ones history left out, are the kind of thing you want more of, subscribe to African Stories Archive. New stories every week. To understand how a warrior queen gets erased, you have to start with the world she was born into. Zazzau was one of 7 core Hausa city-states in what's now northern Nigeria, a region that, by the 1500s, had already built centuries of trade wealth from routes crossing the Sahara. Amina was born around 1533 into Zazzau's royal family. Her mother, Bakwa Turunku, was already a ruler in her own right, one of the first female heads of a Hausa state, and by most accounts the founder of the city that would later bear her daughter's name, Zaria. Amina grew up inside that court, surrounded by politics and diplomacy from childhood. According to oral tradition, she was found as a young girl holding a dagger, an early, symbolic sign of what she'd become. As she got older, she trained the way warriors trained: swordsmanship, archery, horseback riding. Hausa blacksmiths of the era were renowned for their weapons, and Amina reportedly mastered them all. When her brother Karama took the throne after their father's death, Amina didn't retreat into royal life. She rode with his cavalry. She fought in his campaigns. She earned a reputation on the battlefield in a role almost no woman in the region held, described by her own people at the time as a woman as capable as a man. When Karama died, Amina became Queen of Zazzau, and she didn't rule quietly. She led her first military campaign at the head of an army of 20,000 soldiers, an enormous force for the region and era. From there, campaign after campaign expanded Zazzau's borders further than they had ever reached. She pushed south and west into Nupe territory, securing access to the Niger River and the trade wealth that came with it, forcing the Nupe ruler to pay tribute in kola nuts and enslaved eunuchs, the standard terms of tribute in that era and region. She pushed into Kwara. She extended Zazzau's reach toward the wealthy trading cities of Kano and Katsina, drawing them into tribute relationships as well. By the time her campaigns were finished, Zazzau controlled more territory than any Hausa state before it. Some accounts describe her uniting influence across the core Hausa city-states in a way no ruler had managed before. And it wasn't just conquest. Amina was building an economy. She's credited with introducing kola nut cultivation into the region, a crop that would go on to become one of the most valuable trade goods in West African commerce for centuries. She secured and expanded trade routes running through her territory, turning Zazzau into a commercial hub instead of just a military power. Conquered rulers weren't simply defeated. Many were folded into tributary relationships that kept trade flowing back through her capital. And everywhere she conquered, she built massive earthen walls, ringing every captured city and military camp. Fortifications so effective that Hausa states kept building them this way for centuries after her death. Locally, they're still called Ganuwar Amina, Amina's walls. They became the standard model for city fortification across Hausa territory, still in use up until the British colonial conquest of the region in the early 1900s. Fragments of the original walls are still standing in Zaria today. In the 21st century, 500 years of erosion, colonization, and modernization, and some of what she built is still there. She reigned for around 34 years. Later Hausa rulers didn't just remember her, they were in awe of her. Centuries after her death, the 19th century Sultan of Sokoto, Muhammad Bello, wrote about the extent of what she'd conquered, calling it one of the strangest and most remarkable achievements in the history of the 7 Hausa states. That's a ruler from a different kingdom, writing generations later, still struggling to explain how she'd pulled it off. And her military reputation wasn't built on numbers alone. Contemporary and near-contemporary accounts describe her forces using coordinated, disciplined tactics rather than simple mass assault, organized formations, psychological pressure on enemy garrisons, and rapid follow-through after a city's walls were breached. For a 16th century army in the region, that level of coordination was unusual enough that it became part of her legend on its own. So why isn't she a household name outside Nigeria? Part of it is simply how her history was recorded. Amina's story survived largely through oral tradition, passed down by griots and court historians, rather than extensive contemporaneous written record. The earliest known text to mention her by name wasn't written until the 1800s, roughly 2 centuries after she lived, by a scholar named Muhammad Bello, who credited her as the first to establish organized government among the Hausa. But later court chronicles are inconsistent. Some don't list her among the official kings of Zazzau at all. Some traditions describe her not as a crowned queen, but as a princess, a regent, or simply a powerful war leader operating alongside male rulers. Historians still argue about the exact chronology of her reign. Some place it in the mid-1500s, others push it later, into the early 1600s. Even the circumstances of her death are disputed. Some accounts place it in battle near the Niger-Benue River confluence. Others give a different location entirely. There's no settled, agreed-upon record, just competing fragments, passed hand to hand across 5 centuries. That uncertainty is exactly how a woman who once commanded 20,000 soldiers and redrew the map of an empire gets reduced, over time, to folklore, a legend told to children, instead of a chapter in the history books sitting next to the kings she outmaneuvered and the territories she conquered. And there's a second reason her story struggles to travel outside West Africa, one that has nothing to do with Amina herself. Colonial-era historians who first documented Hausa history for European audiences were often working from second-hand oral summaries, translated and retranslated, filtered through their own assumptions about what African women could plausibly have done. A queen who personally led 20,000 soldiers into battle didn't fit easily into the narratives colonial administrators were writing about the societies they were governing. It was simpler to file her under legend than to reckon with her as documented political and military history. Even though the physical evidence, the walls themselves, never stopped standing. But the walls are still there. You can go stand next to them. And Nigeria hasn't forgotten her, even if the wider world has. Her statue stands at the National Arts Theatre in Lagos. There are schools, university dormitories, and streets across the country carrying her name. Queen Amina College in Kaduna, Queen Amina Hall at both the University of Lagos and Ahmadu Bello University. She's shown up in graphic novels, video games, and in 2021, her life was finally adapted into a full-feature film. Put her in context, and the scale of what she accomplished becomes even clearer. Amina was ruling and conquering in the mid to late 1500s, decades before Great Zimbabwe's trade networks collapsed, around the same broad era that produced other African women rulers with real political and military power, like the warrior queens who would later defend Ndongo and Matamba in Central Africa against Portuguese colonization. Female military leadership wasn't unheard of on the continent, but few of those women commanded an army the size of Amina's, and fewer still left physical fortifications you can walk up to and touch 500 years later. She wasn't just a battlefield commander, either. Governing newly conquered territory for over 3 decades required administration, not just conquest, tribute systems, trade regulation, and enough political stability to hold together a territory larger than any of her predecessors had controlled. Conquest without administration collapses within a generation. Zazzau's expanded borders, under her, didn't. None of that changes the core problem, though. Amina built an empire, and large parts of the world still learn African history as though it began with colonization, as though there was nothing here worth writing down before Europeans arrived to do the writing themselves. Amina didn't need the rest of the world to remember her to be real. Her walls don't need permission to still be standing. But it's worth asking, how many more Aminas are sitting in oral history right now, remembered perfectly by the people who never stopped telling her story and waiting for everyone else to finally catch up? This has been African Stories Archive, the history no one taught you. If this is the kind of story you want more of, subscribe and tell us in the comments which queen, king, or empire we should uncover next.